Hey guys, Ken Smith Fishing. They're all laughing at me because this is about the 50th time I've shot this. I've said everything wrong so far. So we're back at the toy box here in Texarkana, Arkansas. That would be Jones Trolling Motor. They got a lot of cool stuff. They've redone the retail area. I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna show you everything they got in stock right now with Taylor's help in a minute. But I'm here to get the new LVS34 transducer on my Garmin, and hopefully we're gonna get to slip out this afternoon and check it out and show you guys the difference. But let's get Taylor out here, and I want to show y'all they've really got lots of stock on a bunch of stuff that's been really hard to find for a long time, including some transducers and some Garmin transducers and also some Humminbird stuff. So let's check it out together here. All right guys, we're here with Taylor, and I'm seeing stuff I hadn't seen. Well, one thing I've never seen before, period, but you got new Humminbird stuff.
We do actually have a little bit of Humminbird stuff for the first time in a while. We've got some Gen 4 12-inch Helixes right now in stock, side and down imaging, and we have the 15s in stock in DI only and SI and DI. So we've got both options there, whether you're wanting to run it on the back for side scan or you're wanting to run it even up on the front just for 360 only or something like that.
So, you know, we talked when we did the Puma review the other day, Mark and I. You have guys running the 15 at the dash alone?
We do. We do still.
What kind of feedback are you getting from guys running a single versus a dual unit?
It's 50-50. You get guys that love the fact of just having the one big unit where they can do everything on it and not have to deal with two different systems and keeping Ethernets, you know, networked up and working, that kind of thing. And more visibility over the front of the boat. Exactly, yes. And then, but we do have the guys, and it's more so the big time tournament guys, it seems like, that fish a lot out of town. They would rather run dual units. That way they know if one goes out, they've got another one. Great point. You always got a backup. Yep. So we've got 15s, Helix 12s. Okay, and then on the top shelf up here, you've got some new stuff as well. Yep. We still have, where we finally got a few more of the Mega 360s in with the Ultrex mount. You know, that was a starving thing for a while where we couldn't get them. There was people all over the country. I mean, it's like a year. Yeah. I mean, guys having to buy them with the universal mounts like they would use on a high side boat up north, and, you know, having to build a mount for them or find somebody that was selling an Ultrex mount to put on them, anything like that. So we do have some of those left that aren't spoke for. And then over here next to it, you've got the TargetLock kit that they come out with here in the last, I guess, 3 weeks or so. Were you surprised those showed up? Yeah. What we're hearing is that's why everything else was so hard to get, was because they were really focusing on getting this out there and getting it ready. That way they wouldn't have, you know, launch problems or, you know, supply chain problems with it, since it was a new product coming out. All right, so we got Mega 360, those Helixes, no Solixes or Apexes right now. Yep. But then we have more of them on order, so we just kind of waiting on a ship date for them. We don't really know for sure. And in the Garmins, you got a little bit of everything. We do have a little bit of everything in the Garmin. It's still something to do with their supply chain just being easier to keep up with than everybody else's. I don't know what it is, but we do. Well, number one, it's a lot bigger company. That's true. I mean, they make everything, right? Yeah, that's right. But we've got everything from the 8616s with the XSV up here that'll run all your side scan, down scan, 2D, all that. So that's a 16-inch unit? Yep. Wow. Got two of those right there. We got one of the plain ones that would be just for your guy that wants it for live scope up front, something like that. Got the 8612s, which is the 12-inch like you're running on the dash. Got those in the 84s also. Got a couple of ultras right here, the 12-inch ultras, and we got a bunch of the 10-inch ultras right there. And coming on down here into the 1222s, the non-touch units, along with a couple of the touchscreen 1243s. We've even got right now the LVS34 that's the transducer only, that just started shipping within the last couple of weeks for people to really start seeing a lot of them. So explain what you mean, just a unit only, for guys that don't follow that. So always before you'd have to buy the entire system, but for guys, you know, that's the black box, all the cables, everything. Black box, transducer cables, that was what we call a system. So this right here is the 34, the new style transducer only. That is for the guy that already has an LVS32 system and he just wants to upgrade to the new LVS34. Okay, so the LVS34, the newest, greatest, my understanding is significant target separation difference. Yep. Can you talk a little bit about what they've done to make this unit, make this transducer better? So it's a bigger element altogether. You know,
An element means crystal to the old guys, right?
Yeah, that's what we always used to call a crystal. So in the old LVS34 transducers, you know, the old triangle shape that everybody got used to seeing, so those elements in there were quite a bit smaller, you know, more packed together. So what they've done is at 60 foot, you've got a 22-inch target separation in the 32, and now in the new 34, it's 14 inches. So basically what that means is at 60 foot, the objects have to be 22 inches apart to get separation before, and now we're talking about 14 inches apart to get separation. So when you're looking at a school of crappie that's sitting out there, you know, 20 foot, 30, 40, you know, however far in front of you, when they're all balled together, they're going to look more, you know, picked out, where you can say, okay, there's some bigger ones down below them, you know, whereas before it would just be a ball that would look like a shad ball until you got right up on them and you could really get them to separate from each other to see what was going on.
So what you're saying is, in the original Top Gun, if they'd had the LS34, they'd have known it was 4 MIGs and not 2 MIGs
That's
coming
right.
out of them,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So now we know we got 4 MIGs coming at us versus 2.
That's right.
Now, it also is, it's better on power, right?
Yes, because of the way they've done the larger elements, they don't have to.
I believe they told us they're 40% larger.
Yes, 40% larger. And in each one of your arrays, however you want to view, what term you want to use for that, the 3 different steps in the transducer is what you're going to hear most commonly. You've got 2 of those elements in each one of those steps. So you got 6 in the transducer, but with that larger size, you know, case that's in now, it's just a lot more efficient on power, where it doesn't have to be, I mean, it is still a higher power draw than what your average side scan transducer would be, but
Doing
you got to
more
think
work.
about all it's trying to do.
Yeah, doing a lot more work.
10 times what a side scan transducer is.
Got it. And you guys have a trade program too. So if a guy's sitting out there with a 32, you've got a trade program with a 34, and there are a few units that 34 won't work on. So if they're not sure, they need to call you guys.
Yeah, if you're not sure about, you know, if your unit's maybe a little bit too old to work with it or something like that, you know, give us a call and we know which ones will and which ones won't. And we've got a system set up as far as trading in, whether you're just trading in, you know, your LVS34 transducer you already have, because all you're wanting to do is buy the new deucer. We've got that system set up where we can get you a trade-in price on that, and we have it for if you want to just trade in the whole system and buy a whole new black box and everything.
Okay. And then I see a wall full of Lowrance stuff over there too.
We do have a lot of Lowrance.
And by the way, I noticed something. So my understanding from talking to several guys is, and I'm not picking on Lowrance, but their brackets aren't the strongest brackets.
That's right.
So you guys have brought some stuff in-house, right?
Yes.
So show them what you got.
So we're big on, if
Actually,
you have,
bring it over here away from the air conditioner for me.
we're big on, if you know you've got a newer style boat that they're compatible with, using the BBT systems, if you're going to do dual graphs at the dash or at the front, or even the triple mounts up front. Lowrance in general, they do have the weakest brackets that we've seen. BBT does make a bracket for every brand, but we try to keep these ones in-house, in stock for the Lowrances. Like this one's for a 12 live here, because for a 12 live, you know, it's a very, very, not even a, you know, about a quarter as thick as what this bracket is here for the stock one.
The stock one, yeah.
And then on the 9 lives now, whereas like your 9 Gen 3s and carbons used to have metal brackets that were the same, you know, kind of thickness, now the live 9s have plastic brackets. So we try to encourage everybody to go with these, because in the long run, it's just a lot better on your units, less vibration.
Right, and that's the point. So I've always noticed on those other brackets, you get a lot of that side-to-side motion because of the lack of thickness. I mean, that is, you can't bend that. I suspect there's no way. Yeah, I mean, that's really, really stout. So, and those guys, you know, we put BBT stuff on my boat, and I've had nothing but good success. So I'm glad to see you guys actually have them here in stock now.
Yeah. And for guys that have, you know, boats kind of like your color scheme, it's a good accent color to go with it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's honestly, for like guys that run Garmin's, that's about half the reason why they buy these, is because they just want the different color bracket up there to make it look cool.
Right. Yep. We will spend money to look cool.
That's right.
Let's go to the Lowrance boxes.
Or over the pedal mounts too.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to where we couldn't, even before that all happened, he was behind or slow or whatever, so we started making them ourselves.
Gotcha. All right, so to the Lowrance shelves, what do we got over here?
Lowrance, we've got a little bit of everything also. Got the 16 live up here. Got all the active targets here. NEMA starter kits for doing all your Lowrance stuff for your networking on .1s and that kind of thing. You know, motor interface. Got some of the 3-in-1 nose cones here that work for the side scan, down scan, and 2D, and to do the Ghost 360 functionality that they come out with recently to if you hit the quick key on your trolling motor with all the rat NEMA components and everything, it'll do a 360 scan just like a Mega 360 will, but it's just doing it with the trolling motor, so it's not an extra attachment off to the side.
Interesting.
So got the 0.1 antennas, got some spare gimbals and knobs and transducers and stuff right here. Got the 12 lives, 9 lives, and then we've got a couple of just odds and ends, like another 9 live there, a 7 FS, and a 7 Elite TI2 up here.
Okay.
Just some smaller options for guys, but got a little bit of everything as far as that goes.
And I noticed walking through the shop, you've added 2 things I've noticed. You've added a second lithium brand, and you've added a new charger. Talk about what you did there.
So just for the ever-changing supply chain, and because it's come to be a very, very viable brand, on the chargers, what we've done is we've added the NOCOs. It's the Gen Pros. We've got them, you know, from like a 2-bank all the way up to a 4-bank. It's similar to what Minn Kota has now in the PCL, comparable price, but it does in 12-volt banks. They've got the regular lead acid, you've got an AGM setting, and you've got a lithium setting, so you can run any kind of battery you want to, you know, as long as they're 12-volt applications.
Okay. And you said it is pretty hard right now to get the Minn Kota chargers anyway,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, it's still very hard to get them, and you know, price-wise, it's very comparable. And honestly, you know, we always loved Minn Kota chargers because we didn't have problems out of them, and it's been the same thing so far with these NOCOs. I think they're built as similar as you can get, even though they don't look similar on the outside. They're real close. I mean, this is still like a 440 PC would be from Minn Kota. You know, 4 banks, 10 amps per bank. So
It's interesting. That's the Vexus review I just did, the 10 boat. It had one of those, and then somebody else's boat I was just in had the new NOCO, or had a NOCO in it, and had been really pleased with it. And I've actually had several comments from videos of guys running the NOCOs and saying that they've really been pleased with their performance. So.
yeah, the one thing you do have to watch out for on NOCO, and it's the same with Minn Kota. Minn Kota separates theirs in from the digital chargers that are lead acid only, to the PCL chargers now that have the settable modes. It's the same thing with NOCO. They have a Genius that is just for regular lead acid batteries, and they have this Genius that's the Gen Pro. That's the one you want if you've got a mix of AGM and lead acid or lithium, you know, what have you. So
let me say that again. If you're running mixed batteries, you need the Gen Pro
you need
series.
the Gen Pro. That
Okay.
way you can set each bank to whatever you want it to be.
Perfect. Okay. Does it read it, or do you have to set it manually?
You have to set it manually, just like the Minn Kota PC chargers. You know, the PCs, you kind of had a push system you had to do of multiple pushes to get it to set and program. These here, when you hit the button, it changes to, you know, whichever light, and once it gets there, you don't have to do any extra. It's like, I think the lithium setting's the 2nd or 3rd setting on there. Once that light goes to that, and they're actually different color lights, like one of them's red, one of them's blue, one of them's green. Once it gets to that setting and it's lit up, you're good to go. It stays lit up there for that on the battery type, and then above it, it has the scale of how charged it is, and it'll start to charge up then.
Okay, and then you added a battery line.
We did. We added a different lithium line. You know, we've got the Pro Guides, and this is another one to add to it because, you know, there's just so many different applications out there, and there's guys that want a specific type of battery. You know, like if you want a 36 independent battery, that's what Impulse has right there.
That's a 36-volt battery?
That's a 36-volt battery.
That's crazy. That can't weigh 40 pounds.
Yep. So one battery for 36 volt, they offer that, and the same thing for 24 volt also. One battery, you know, for the 24 volt system. So
that's crazy how light that is.
exactly. Now they are lithium iron phosphate. That's, you know, one of the different.
That's the one that doesn't blow up.
Yes. They
Layman's terms. That's the one that doesn't blow up.
So in their 12 volt, what we run and recommend, especially if you're doing a lot of electronics, is their 120 amp hour. That's the one we've already sold a ton of them. We've been carrying them about a month maybe now, and we've got several guys, you know, fishing a lot of big tournaments off places, MPFL, that kind of thing, and they're running, you know, 4 to 5 graphs off of, you know, that one battery. Some of them guys are also, you know, running just a backup cranking battery, something like that. That's, you know, all standard things now. That's the reason for the NOCO chargers and that kind of thing. But say 36 volt 40 amp hour batteries, they're only about $1,000. So
say that again.
About $1,000
for which one?
a 36 volt 40 amp hour,
Which is about what 3 trolling motor batteries would cost you.
If you buy big 31 series batteries, you're going to be in them, you know, $700-800.
So does a 36 volt single lithium charge faster or slower than 3 12 volt AGMs or lead cells?
It'll be 10 times faster because most of the time, and just speaking from my personal experience, on my 36 volt system I've got like this, even if I go fish and trying to burn a battery down, you know, throwing top water during the fall, something like that, very rarely do I get it below 80%.
Wow.
Whereas before, my lead acids or, you know, something like that would be so low that the charger would take all night to charge. And most of the time in my practice days for tournaments, if I get in right around, you know, dinner time, a little after, and I plug them up, if I stay up real late that night, you know, trying to think about what I'm going to do the next day, I can unplug them before I ever even go to sleep, and they're full charge.
And so you've got those, and then we've got the Pro Guides over there,
Yeah,
right?
We do the Pro Guides also. Pro Guide right now.
All right, so I cut you off before we got to the Pro Guide shelf.
Yep, so Pro Guide, we do still offer their lithiums also. That's Impulse, Pro Guide, either way, they're both really, really good options if you're wanting to go lithium. On the Pro Guide though, what you're gonna see is 12 volt independent batteries versus the Impulse having the 136. So what you're gonna have is you're gonna have like a 24 size, you know, so small battery compared to what we normally, you know, would see. Like, you know, this size battery here in a 75 amp hour is a lot of what we're running. That's like a 24 size case, but right here, 75 amp hour trolling battery. So you can put 3 of them, you know, kind of all caddy corner them up in a corner of a compartment in a boat and not take up any room at all, versus 331s that you've got to set out side by side by side. So we also have them in the 100 amp hour. That's a full 31 size battery. If you know, are one of those guys that really calls on your trolling motor a lot, you run guide trips, you know, something like that, and you want a bigger battery, we have that option also. But that's why we got so big on the NOCO chargers, is because you can run 3 of these batteries for your trolling and still run a big AGM or something like that on your cranking and electronics, and you have the ability to run all those different kinds of batteries with a settable charger like a NOCO.
Okay, so last 2 things. You do have your steps back in place now, so because you had a problem there for a while, you couldn't get them.
Yeah, we did have a little supply chain problem where we couldn't get them, but we do have steps again. We've got some of the smaller ones also. They're just not out here in the front. That's the larger step ups.
What do we got for trolling motors?
Trolling motors right now, Minn Kota, still very, very tough to get. We get a few of them, you know, here and there. But we've got the Ghost in stock in the 47 inch, and we have the Garmin in stock in the 50 inch, and we might have a 57 back there.
So the question I've got for you, you can run anything you want to run. I mean, you own a damn shop. What are you running right now on your boat?
I've ran Garmin since last September.
Garmin Trolling Motor.
Garmin Trolling Motor, yes.
And so guys, when we did my boat last year, these guys have always been incredibly upfront and honest with me about this. You were not excited about the Garmins at one point.
Yeah, early on there was a few, you know, little bugs. It's just as is with anything when it first comes out. But at this point right now, dang near bulletproof.
Well, and so my buddy, y'all know Dickie Newberry. Dickie's got one and he loves it. I fished out of Mark's boat the other day. He had one, and one of the things I'll say about it, and I'm not picking on Humminbird because I'm Minn Kota, I love my Ultrex, but it's 30% as hard. I mean, the weight, the offset is so much easier to lift that trolling motor. And have I heard that it's also maybe a little easier on batteries?
Yes, the brushless motors that are in the Garmin, you know, and Lowrance also, it's 10 times easier on batteries. I mean, I think that's part of what I was, you know, talking about on my 36 volt battery on long days, you know, throwing a top water, burning a lot of water up. That's part of what the reason being that my batteries don't get below 80% a lot of the time is because that motor is so quiet and efficient.
What electronics are you running in your boat right now?
All Garmin right now. I've got 1223s and 8612s on my boat right now.
So you're finding, so there's a new map available on Garmin's, right? You're finding it's as good as the Lakemaster maps?
Yeah, and I was always a fan of the, you know, Lakeview G3 HD that they had, or that was what we've always ran. Now they have their Navionics one that is the blend of that data and Navionics. It's for the guys that, like, say, come from Lowrance and they're used to running Navionics. And, you know, even a lot of Humminbird users ran Navionics for a long time.
I ran both.
Yeah. So if you're used to those Navionics style maps, it's that mapping plus Garmin's independent surveys they've done and the original lake view data they had. So it's all blended together into a really, really good map now.
And you can get those cards?
Yes, yep, we can get those cards. We're still selling the lake views also, just, you know, depending on what a guy wants, what they're looking for in a card. But if you're looking
also,
for the best,
part of it also how much you fish different lakes, right?
Yes. So the lake view was just a 2-region card, an east and a west. The new Navionics is a 4-region card, you know, like a south, a west, a north, and an east. So
more data, got to have had broke up more. Yeah,
That's
got
right.
it. Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. So we got a little bit of everything right now. What's your time frame on getting stuff worked on right now?
Right now, generally, we're running, like say if you call us today, we might be able to squeeze you in the end of this week that we're on right now, or more than likely be the first of the next week. But, you know, we're still right now.
Not bad.
Yeah, right now while we're able to get stuff, you know, in and out in a day or two.
Cool. All right. There you go, guys. We're gonna go check out the new LVS34, and I want to see the size difference. We talked about it. Let's look at that real quick.